Danby, do you remember that Instagram reel you sent me, the one with the woman in her car?
Yeah, of course. Someone asked to see her text messages, and she's like, okay, fine. And then they asked to see her DMs, and she hands it over. But when they asked to see her ChatGPT history, she literally throws her phone out the window.
Exactly. And that video really stuck with me because it revealed something important, that the data we're sharing with AI tools is really sensitive and potentially more valuable than the data we generate when we use social media.
And also, Beck, with social media, we understand these design tricks more because they've been around for a while. We know about infinite scroll, we know how notifications can distract us, and we know how autoplay keeps us engaged. But with generative AI, we're in the infancy stage, and the specific tricks are still being designed as we speak.
I've been thinking about what's different this time around. With social media, the market forces are built around our social network, the people we care about and interact with. We don't leave because we care about those connections. But there's a new kind of dependency being created with AI tools. It's like if you leave Facebook, you might have less access to your friends. But if you leave ChatGPT, you might lose a part of yourself.
That really resonates with me, Beck. The context window, that's the AI's memory of your conversation, it captures a version of who you are at that moment in time. And these context windows are getting bigger and bigger, so they're capturing more of your thinking and your personality. And being able to create such a sophisticated profile of users gives AI companies tremendous power.
So let's name some of the design features that we've been spotting that could become design tricks. Danby, what stands out to you?
Well, the most obvious one is what we call "would you like me to?" We can think about this as the new infinite scroll. LLMs can be so overly helpful that many responses end with, "Would you like me to do this? Would you like me to do that? Would you like me to create that for you?" It always has a last word, often offering things you didn't even ask for, extending the conversation, and keeping you engaged.
I actually had an experience with a chatbot recently where the conversation didn't drag on. It gave me a response and didn't try to extend the conversation. I had the same feeling I have when I reach the bottom of a web page and there's no new content. It was such a weirdly strange relief.
So, Beck, another observation I had is the absence of timestamp in chats with LLMs. Every other chat platform has them: WhatsApp, DMs, text messages, but AI chat interfaces, many of them don't. And I'm not sure it's solely for aesthetic purposes to keep a clean interface. Think about scrolling back through a conversation with a friend. You can see, oh, okay, we talked on Monday night, and oh, okay, we continued the conversation Thursday morning. But with LLMs, you don't know if you've been in conversation for 20 minutes or 2 hours. You don't have that temporal awareness built in.
Another tricky feature, and it's kind of weird to call this a design feature, but it's the chatbot's personality, which is often sycophantic. These tools can come across as endlessly agreeable, endlessly patient, endlessly available. It's not natural for humans to experience that.
And while you can try to reduce the sycophancy of chatbots and settings by creating instructions that say, challenge me, be a devil's advocate, in my experience, I just don't know how reliable that is. And I think I'm skeptical in part because we don't have full visibility into the master system prompt that really guides an AI model's behavior.
And here's where these features get even trickier. Sometimes LLMs give you brilliant responses, and other times they kind of give you mediocre ones. We've already learned from social media that that variability can be used to increase engagement. When responses are unpredictable, they become more compelling than if we always knew what to expect. When you sometimes get great answers and sometimes mediocre ones, what do you do?
You keep trying, you chip away at it, you reformulate your prompt, try again, and that's engagement right there.
Yep. And meanwhile, every one of those interactions is teaching the system more about how you think, what matters to you, how you make decisions. For young people, especially, using these tools for learning means they're not just outsourcing cognitive work, they're creating a detailed map of how their minds work for these companies.
And Beck, this makes young learners vulnerable to being influenced or even manipulated by companies now that they have this understanding of exactly how learners think and what motivates them.
So, DBK, we've covered a lot of ground. What does this mean for educators?
Well, Beck, I think the first step is recognizing that this is an us and them situation, not an us versus them. We're all vulnerable, both teens and adults, to these types of polls. And we're all navigating these tools that are designed to prioritize engagement over our well being and learning goals.
And it's crucial to help young people understand that the incentives behind these design features may have implications for their learning and development.
But this doesn't mean that we should outright ban these tools, but it highlights the importance of thinking carefully about which tools we use in learning contexts and how we introduce them to young people.
Right, and that means building literacy around these design tricks. It supports agency when students understand that a would you like me to response may keep them engaged in the chat longer than they intend. That if they lose track of time in a conversation, that actually might be by design. And that unconditional agreement, while it may feel good, isn't always serving them.
And hopefully, understanding these patterns helps us all make intentional choices about when and how we engage with these tools.
As educators, our job isn't to shield students from these tricks, but to help them develop the awareness, skills, and habits of mind to navigate them thoughtfully and in ways that genuinely serve their learning and growth.